Browns lose to the Steelers 27-14, and I think I speak for all of us when I say I am ready to cut Dustin Hopkins. Is Dustin Hopkins the sole reason you lost this game? No, he's not. Did he, for another time this year, really sabotage the rest of the team's efforts? Yes, he did. Because within fair reason, if he makes both of those field goals, one to close the first half, one to start the second half, for starters, the Browns would be tied 13-13 early in the third quarter. Instead, that was the third quarter where Pittsburgh really separated. So I think without being a big stretch here, it'd be reasonable to say the Browns would be very much in this game. Instead, Steelers ran away with it, and ultimately, people are probably going to highlight the Jameis Winston interception towards the end as the real nail in the coffin. It might be, but I think the real nail in the coffin was missing that second field goal. And everyone going, well, if we don't score touchdowns, we don't get points. Because our kicker can't make reasonably expected kicks to make for a kicker. Browns offense today was not nearly as good as it has been the last couple of weeks. I mean, as a team, they threw for 195 yards. They committed to the ground game, and there were some good flashes at times between Chubb and Ford, but ultimately, it's still a ground game that leaves you wanting a whole lot more. There's very few explosive plays that come out of it. It's not a ground game that really puts a lot of fear into opponents. But let's talk about Jameis. The Jameis experience, as everyone loves to say, right? Well, Jameis was 24 for 41. He had a bad first half. He did. He had a nice touchdown pass to Jeudy. Outside of that, it was wildly inaccurate. Here's the thing that I've been saying with Jameis is right now, everyone's kind of on board Jameis because this team is bad. They're not going anywhere, so might as well be entertaining while being bad. What about next year when they're not bad because it's week 1? It's a fresh slate, and it's 0-0 on the scoreboard. And Jameis is still throwing a league-leading 11 turnovers since week 8 when he became the Browns' full-time starter. Are people still going to say it's fun? Probably not. But right now it is because it's a 3-win team. Remember this memory. Remember this overall feeling and attitude towards Jameis Winston now. Because while it's fair-ish to have this since it's a 3-9, 3-10 team, you're not going to feel the same way if Jameis puts on the same stat line to open up next year. But, of course, the biggest and only question that everyone has is Jameis Winston playing himself into being the Browns starter in 2025? Here's my prediction. Ready? I think Jameis is going to play at about the same level we have seen over the last 5 weeks, which is he's going to throw touchdowns, he's going to commit turnovers. He is going to return as this team's backup/starter. And the Browns are likely going to camouflage it behind, well, Deshaun's still injured. He's coming back from his Achilles. So during all of spring, OTAs, minicamp, Jameis will be the starter. And we'll always kind of wonder, is it because Watson's injured or is it because they like Jameis more? And my guess is they're going to run that all the way into the regular season. And Jameis will start for them week 1. And Watson will be healthy, but kind of like how Russ was not healthy this year with that hamstring injury, and they rode Fields for a while and then went back to Wilson when things started to kind of fall off a little bit with Fields. And that's probably what's going to happen with Watson and Winston. They'll ride with Winston, and after 3 weeks, when the team is 1-2 and Jameis has thrown 6 interceptions, they'll turn it over to Deshaun Watson. Because sure, Jameis is not the sole reason why he's losing or winning you games, but he's definitely holding this team back with all the turnovers. The first interception to Keanu Benton was disgusting. The second one, while it wasn't the worst throw I've ever seen, it was a bad overthrow, and it cost them even a slight chance of making a comeback in this game. So, Jameis will start for the rest of the season, as he should. He will probably continue to play at this level, which I think is starting quarterback level in the NFL. I think it's top 32, but it's a lot closer to 32 than people want to accept. And the only reason why people are, I would say, putting up with Jameis, but kind of like riding with it and sinking their teeth into it, is because there are some fair, awesome, great highs and good moments that I don't want to take away from him. But the lows just get, whatever. 3-win Browns team, at least it's more fun to watch them now than the beginning of the year. You're not wrong, but while Watson wasn't helping a lot of efforts to put points on the board, he wasn't scoring more points for the other team than his own team, like Winston has kind of done the last couple of weeks. So for Jameis, buckle up, because the Jameis experience, as we all like to say, is going to continue to take twists and turns, and he's probably going to come back, and he's probably going to start. He's probably going to get benched because of the turnovers. Let's talk about Chubb for a moment. His first game back in Pittsburgh since week 2 of last year. 11 carries, 48 yards, 19 yards is a long. That 19-yard run came in the second half. No one likes this guy, but if you take away that 19-yard run, it's 10 carries for about 40 yards. Sorry, 30 yards. About 3 yards a carry. You're just not seeing the explosiveness. You're not seeing that ability to, when he hits the hole, speed through it. That's what Chubb did so well, is when he hit the hole, he had his ability to go from 0 to 60, right? He's going 0 to 40. And in the NFL, that's going to result in an average of 3 yards a carry. And it sucks to see, but I'm content with just running out the rest of the season with Chubb, letting him enjoy the last couple of games in Cleveland, because chances are he's not coming back in 2025. Jeudy, if we want to get into like really the nitty-gritty of this game, was great, obviously, in the first quarter because he scored a touchdown, and then disappeared for the next 2. Why? I'm not really sure. When I rewatch the game tomorrow morning, I'll see if he was just on Revis Island, which sounds unlikely, or if somehow the play calling from Ken Dorsey just got away from 3, which is a mistake because he's really freaking good. Look at what he's done for you the last couple of weeks. Entered the game with 5 grabs, 64 yards, and a touchdown. Njoku, who had a quiet first half, had a strong second half, 7 receptions, 42 yards, and 1 touchdown. So overall, the offense really just kind of melted, and you can kind of blame play calling to a degree, but Dorsey's not the one throwing interceptions. Dorsey is the one calling a dumb run on 4th and 1, which dumb might be a strong word, but just do the QB sneak. It works. It worked later. I'd rather go down with a failed QB sneak than getting cutesy with it and losing 5 yards on a Jerome Ford run. Just do the QB sneak, Ken. Next up, I want to talk about the defense and the Browns draft pick after this loss. But first, a quick shout out to our friends over at Game Time. Game Time has an awesome feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. One thing I love about Game Time is their all-in pricing option. When you toggle this feature, it'll show you the total upfront cost, so you have no surprise fees at checkout. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHAT Sports for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Let's talk a little bit about this Browns defense. Gave up 27 points. They got caught with their pants down once when Jameis threw the interception that set up Pittsburgh deep in Cleveland territory. So you can kind of maybe chalk that on up a little bit to the offense, but still not the greatest outing from the Browns defense. It wasn't until late in the game where we saw really an impact play made on the forced fumble by Isaiah McGuire, recovered by Myles Garrett. Garrett did not really interject himself into the game until the fourth quarter as well. Russell Wilson had a tough go to open up, though. He was wildly inaccurate, kind of doing the Browns defense a favor because they weren't doing themselves all that many favors. There were some big 3-and-out stops, and this game was close, and that's why I put most of the blame on Dustin Hopkins, because the defense was making stops. The offense had 2 good drives to end the first half and to start the second half, and they were rewarded with 0 points when they should have had at least 6 points off of very makeable kicks from D-Hop. And I just feel like there's no stat that can show it, but internally, with the momentum shift of missing 2 kicks, you just start to see that sideline begin to deflate. Because the defense probably starts to think, man, it doesn't matter how many stops we get. The offense can't put up points, and we're going to kind of run out of gas, making great efforts, that are going to go unrewarded. And the offense goes, we're making great efforts, and we're being unrewarded because our kicker can't make a 38-yarder and a 43-yarder. So I think overall the Browns defense probably did enough today. 27 points is not going to reflect that, and anyone that didn't watch the game is going to think the Steelers offense put on a masterclass. And I mean, they had 2 good touchdowns to Van Jefferson and Pat Freiermuth, who were open, and those were missed assignments. But overall, I feel like this game really comes down to one player, 7. If he makes those kicks, this game is tied 13-all in the third quarter, and we could be having a very different conversation right now. But after those kicks, you just felt like the 3-win team start to really come out, and that's what we saw after that. Let's talk a little bit about the draft order. So these things are always fluid as games are being played right now, but as things stand at 4:32 p.m. Eastern Time, the Browns are currently the 8th pick in the draft, sitting at 3-10. They're in a 5-way tie. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 5-way tie of 3-10, and they have the most difficult strength of schedule of those 5 3-10 teams. So the most difficult 3-10, strength of schedule is going to be the team that picks at the end of that tiebreaker. So who could they get at 8? I don't want to get too in the weeds here, but Abdul Carter from Penn State, I think would be a pretty nice complimentary pick for Myles Garrett. Will Johnson, try and get some get some better play at the cornerback position, a cornerstone piece. With Greg Newsome not having a great year, Martin Emerson having the worst year of his young career, Denzel Ward next year will be going into the 8th year of his career. Might not be a bad idea to really hit a home run on what I think is going to be an awesome corner at the next level. So those are 2 guys that jump out to me, Abdul Carter and Will Johnson in round 1. I would not go quarterback. 1, you're not going to get Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. They're going top 5. The Raiders and the Giants are picking 1 and 2 at this very moment. They're both taking a quarterback. So don't get your hopes up for those guys. Now, Drew Aller, I thought last night in the Big Ten championship game, showed me something that I'd use a 3rd-round pick on, that's for sure. But I would not use a 1st-round pick on a quarterback if it's not Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. That's going to do it for us on today's post-game show. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you have not already. We'll keep you guys informed and entertained for the rest of the season. Appreciate everyone for tuning in, and we'll see all of you guys later.